Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call this land use planning meeting to order at 6:30 p.m. by formally recognizing that we are meeting on Aboriginal land that has been inhabited by Indigenous peoples from the beginning. As settlers, we're grateful for the opportunity to be good stewards of this land and thank all of the generations of people who have taken care of this place for thousands of years. In particular, we acknowledge the proud heritage of our neighbors from the Alderville First Nation and the Mohawks of the Bay of Quinte. Before I move into our first motion, I'll ask everyone to please silence cell phones and other electronic devices. And our first motion is moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Councillor Tadman, that pursuant to Section 239(2)B of the Municipal Act, Council convene an in-camera meeting to discuss a personnel issue about an identifiable individual. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? The motion is carried. I have a motion moved by Councillor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Bateman, that Council approve the September 9th, 2019 planning meeting agenda as amended. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? The motion is carried. And I'll ask if there are any declarations of pecuniary interest, and if so, please state the general nature thereof. Councillor LeBlanc.
Through you, Chair, I have a conflict of interest on 6.1, as I am the owner of the property.
Thank you, sir. Any others? Thank you. We have no delegations this evening, which takes us to our statutory public meeting, and I have a motion moved by Councillor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Bateman, that Council move into the statutory public meeting September 9th, 2019 at 6:32 p.m. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. The first item in our statutory public meeting is with regard to file number B17 and B18 2019. These are consent applications. The owner is the Watkins Properties Incorporated. The location is Part Block H of Plan 4, part of Part 1 of Registered Plan 38R, 2659, 201 Lisgar Street. And Mr. Ty, by what method and on what date was notice of these consent applications given?
Thank you, Your Worship. Most of the consent applications were sent by first-class prepaid mail on August 23rd, 2019 to all property owners within 16 years. The notice was also circulated to the agencies and ministries prescribed under the Planning Act, and a signed notice was posted on the property.
Thank you, Mr. Ty. Would you also explain the background regarding these consent applications?
Yes, back in January of 2017, Council granted provisional consent to applications B47 and B28, 2016. However, conditions required to finalize the consents were not satisfied, and provisional consent lapsed on January 23rd, 2018. The applications before Council that is filed by the applicant is with the intent that the pre-approved consents be resurrected. However, he has slightly changed the lot configurations in a modest way. The applications, to summarize, severance B17 2019 would comprise an area of 2.06 acres, 200 feet of frontage. The second consent, same area, 2.06 acres, 200 feet. And the retained portion, which is at the northern end of the property, which is occupied with existing storage facilities, 4.1 acres with a frontage of 824 feet.
Thank you, Mr. Ty. And does the owner or applicant wish to make any comments? He doesn't appear to be present. Are there persons present who have questions or comments regarding this proposed consent application? None noted. Are there any questions or comments regarding this proposed consents from members of council? Noted. Final opportunity for the owner or applicant who is not present. Mr. Ty, do you have any final comments?
Nothing further.
Thank you. Does council wish to make a decision on these consents? Very well. I have a motion moved by Councilor Bateman, seconded by Councilor Anderson, that this report regarding consent applications B17, 2019 and B18, 2019, as prepared by the municipal planning consultants be received. That Council of the Municipality of Brighton grant provisional consent to applications B17, 2019 and B18, 2019, subject to the following conditions. That the severed and retained parcels be rezoned to the satisfaction of the Municipality of Brighton. The cash in lieu of parkland in the amount of $1,000 be paid to the municipality. That all taxes on each of the severed and retained lots be in compliance with municipal requirements prior to the deed being stamped. And that 3 paper copies and a digital copy of a registrable survey and the appropriate transfer deed be prepared and deposited with the municipal clerk within 1 year of the granting of consent. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. The second item in our statutory public meeting is also with regard to 2 consents. It is file numbers B20, 2019 and B21, 2019. The owners are Daniel and Susan Hook. The location is part of Lot 335, Concession 5, Parts 1 and 2 of Registered Plan 38R, 1952, 179 County Road 30. And Mr. Ty, by what method and on what date was notice of these consent applications given?
Notice of the applications was given by first-class prepaid mail to all property owners within 60 meters on August 23rd. Notice was also circulated to prescribed ministries and agencies as well as the properties were assigned.
Thank you, Mr. Ty. Would you please explain the background regarding these consent applications?
The consent applications before council are requesting that a portion of the subject property be severed in order to create 2 new residential building lots in addition to the retained. If approved, severance B20 would comprise 199.5 feet of frontage with a lot area of 1.53 acres. Severance B21, 201 feet of frontage, 1.63 acres. The retained would have 569.88 feet of frontage with 11.24 acres.
Thank you, Mr. Ty. Does the owner or applicant wish to make any comments?
So far, Mayor.
Thank you. Are there persons present who have questions or comments regarding the proposed consent applications? There are none noted. Any questions from members of council? None noted. Final comments from the owner or applicant? Thank you. Mr. Ty, do you have any final comments?
Nothing further.
Thank you. And does council wish to make a decision this evening? I have a motion moved by Councilor Bateman, seconded by Councilor Anderson, that this report regarding consent applications B20, 2019 and B21, 2019, as prepared by the municipal planning consultants, be received, and the Council of the Municipality of Brighton grant provisional consent to applications B20, 2019 and B21, 2019, subject to the following conditions. That the applicant lay out and dedicate by deed to the County of Northumberland a strip of land ensuring 15 meters from the center line of County Road 30 along the frontage of the severed and retained portions of the road for road widening purposes. That a slope stability assessment be conducted to the satisfaction of Lower Trent Conservation Authority and the Municipality of Brighton. That the applicant demonstrate conformity with section 3.9.10 of the Municipality of Brighton official plan to the satisfaction of the Municipality of Brighton. That the retained lands be rezoned to the satisfaction of the Municipality of Brighton. That all taxes on each of the severed and retained lots be in compliance with municipal requirements prior to the issuance of a certificate of official. And that 3 paper copies and a digital copy of a registrable survey for each of the severed lots and the appropriate deed transfer be prepared and deposited with the municipal clerk within 1 year of the granting of consent. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. fourth item on in our statutory public meeting is with regard to the Applewood Meadows Retirement Residence. Its file number is Z16-2019. The owner is 8597685 Canada Incorporated. The location is part of lots 1, 2, and 3, south of Main Street, part of lot 21, east of Greenwood Avenue, registered plan 28. And Mr. Ty, would you please provide some background information regarding this request?
Yes, thank you. Back in October of 2018, council proceeded to approve a redesignation and rezoning of the property to permit the proposed Applewood Meadows Retirement Facility. And most recently, on August 6, 2019, council proceeded to grant site plan approval. Although the final document has yet to be executed, its signature is imminent, and therefore staff are recommending removal of the agency.
Thank you, Mr. Ty. I'll ask if the owner or applicant wish to make any comments, although I don't see anybody in the room. Are there persons present who have questions or comments regarding this proposed application? Noted. Any questions from members of council? Mr. Bateman.
I just wanted to thank Daryl earlier in the day. I think everybody was on the correspondence. I just wanted to know clarification around the zoning when it was switching from one to the other to make sure that we were covered and it didn't require a regular site condition. And Daryl sent confirmation and outlined that it was good to go. So I just wanted to make sure we had all our ducks in a row, and thank you for answering that.
Thank you, Councilor Bateman. Any other questions from council? Councilor LeBlanc?
Through you, Mayor, to my glasses on so I can see that. Sorry. Thank you very much for talking with me before the meeting, clarifying a few points for me, which made it good. The other reason I'm speaking is because some of the emails that came up on the east side, that it didn't seem like council was in favor of the last one. They were. It was a 6-0 vote. So this vote, so that the public knows that the council is in favor of these things, a project with this magnitude, and with the jobs coming to town, I'm going to call for the recorded vote.
When we get there.
When we get there.
Thank you. Anything further from members of council? The owner and applicant are present. Mr. Ty, any final comments? And does council wish to make a decision? Thank you. Councilor LeBlanc has asked for a recorded vote. Recorded votes are taken by the clerk and begin in alphabetical order with the person who asked for the recorded vote being Councilor LeBlanc. Madam Clerk?
Councillor Doug LeBlanc,
Yes.
Councillor Emily Rowley,
Yes.
Councillor Mary Tadman,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Laura Vink,
Yes.
Councillor Ron Anderson,
Yes.
Councillor Mark Bateman,
Yes.
and Mayor Brian Ostrander.
Yes.
And that is carried. Can you pass that?
And the final item in our statutory public meeting this evening is with regard to the removal of a hold, also a removal of a hold. The owner being Stallwood Homes. The location is Orchard Gate Subdivision, Part Lot 3, Concession 1. And Mr. Ty, would you please provide background information regarding this application?
Thank you, Your Worship. The subject property represents the second and final stage of Phase 3 of Orchard Gate subdivision. And the lots have since been created. Of course, they're rezoned for the holding provision, and building permits were issued for the development of these lots. So the situation represents an oversight through inadvertence, staff changes, if you will. This item, staff are considering to be merely a housekeeping exercise for council.
Thank you, Mr. Ty. Again, I don't see the owner or any agent present, but I'll ask if there are any comments from the owner or applicant. None noted. Other persons present who have questions or comments regarding this application? None noted. Questions from members of council? Councilor Rowley.
Thank you, Mayor. Just once again, just looking for a little bit of clarification, as you said, building has already gone on in this space, and removing the holding or leaving the holding on as far as looking after deficiencies are there is not going to make any difference at this stage.
Through the chair, the holding provision would really have no direct relevance to any deficiencies or unfinished work in the subdivision. The subdivision has received the final subdivision approval. The subdivision agreement is executed. In my experience, in my opinion, the H should have been lifted at that time, and it was not.
Thank you.
Councilor Bateman?
I just want to thank Daryl again. I had sent questions earlier, and I think he emailed everybody on the response. I had questions around the H hold, and I'm satisfied with that it was an oversight, so we have to move on. That's just a housekeeping item. The other clarification I needed was, we've been talking about treating every area the same and all developers equally. So I had concerns about the deficiencies, and then I think it was my other, was it Scott Poole? He responded, and he said that they were underway, and I actually took a drive up there, and actually there was quite the army of people underway, so thank you again.
Councilor Tappan?
Most everything, Chair, has been answered, and I just wanted a confirmation that we have enough sureties to cover anything of the deficiencies that are, like, do we need a second lift or anything like that? I'm sure that you must have that kind of money put in the piggy bank.
Through the chair, the phase 3 of Orchard has not yet been assumed. There will be a portion of the letter of credit on held, and of course I'm not able to confirm the exact amount. But only the letter of credit would have been released based on the work that was deemed to be acceptable to the municipality so far.
Thank you.
Councilor LeBlanc?
Through you, Chair, my question is for the CAO. What protocols are we putting in place to make sure that this doesn't, something like this doesn't slip through the pocket again, because this is the third one.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I think that's an excellent question, and it's certainly an issue that was brought forward during our discussions about an organizational review that we held back in, I think it was August the 12th or so. We certainly identified different corporate risks that we were facing. This has been one of them, corporate-wide for a number of different years, and we have put a number of new staff, as you know, in place, or will be in place in the 2020 budget to ensure that these mistakes are minimized in the future.
Anyone else? Another applicant are not present. Mr. Ty, any final comments?
Troy?
Thank you. Council, wish to make a decision? The motion moved by Deputy Mayor Vink, seconded by Councilor Anderson, that council receives the report regarding the removal of the holding provision, Orchard Gate subdivision as prepared by the municipal planning consultants, and that council proceed to enact a bylaw, thereby having the effect of removing the holding provision from the subject lands. Is there any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. I have a motion moved by Councilor LeBlanc, seconded by Councilor Tadman, that council move out of the statutory public meeting September 9th, 2019 at 6:48 p.m. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. And we'll move into planning and development reports. Our first report is with regard to the application for a fill permit, for lots 31 and 32, concession B, in the municipality of Brighton. And for the record, Councilor LeBlanc has left the chambers. Mr. Ty, we've read your report. Do you have anything to add or highlight?
Nothing further, Your Worship, other than we do have with us here this evening Mr. Scott Fish, who is a Basin engineer. He acts on behalf of the applicant, and he's indicated his availability to answer any questions council may have.
Thank you, Mr. Ty. If council has specific questions, we'll get Scott to come forward. I have a motion moved by Councilor Bateman, seconded by Deputy Mayor Vink, that council receives the report regarding application for fill permit as prepared by the municipal planning consultant, and that council refuse an application for fill permit as submitted by Douglas LeBlanc for the subject lands, or that council grant the requested fill permit subject to the recommended conditions as presented in September 9th, 2019 staff planning report. Councilor Bateman, this is your motion. What is your preference?
I've read this several times. I'm in favor of proceeding with granting under the provisions of the 90-day, and I found through correspondence, we do have a fill bylaw, which I didn't know we had, and I've read that over, so if all the conditions are met and we follow the fill bylaw, I don't see a reason we can't proceed.
So the motion would read that council receive the report and that council grant the requested full permit subject to the recommended conditions as presented in the September 9th, 2019 planning report. Is that correct?
Correct.
Deputy Mayor, do you still want to be the seconder?
I'll second it because it needs to be on the floor for discussion.
Very well. Members of council, any discussion? Councilor Rowell.
Thank you. Could I just have an explanation of the 90-day permit? Does that mean that we would initially grant this permit for 90 days? Or does that mean if the applicant wanted to extend his permit for a certain length of time, that we would just do it by 90 days at a time? I'm just not 100% sure of that. Thank you.
Mr. Ty?
The 90-day sunset provision actually is an existing standard in the municipality's fill bylaw. That was not created specifically for this application or this particular site. Council do have the option in granting the permit to extend it longer, or they could go on the basis of 90 days with renewals.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions from members of council? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you, Councilor Tatman. Our next item is with regard to Lakeside Landing Plan of Subdivision. Mr. Ty, we've read your report. Do you have anything to add or highlight? Thank you. I have a motion moved by Councilor LeBlanc, seconded by Councilor Tadman. The council received the report regarding Lakeside Landing Plan of Subdivision as prepared by the municipal planning consultant. And the council proceed to rescind resolution 2017-235. And the council directs staff to bring forward a report to a future council meeting with the intent being to grant final subdivision approval inclusive of a subdivision agreement. Members of council, any discussion? Councilor Rowley?
Thank you, Mayor. I was reading the report. It says this has come from staff. Could I ask which staff were involved in the discussion to bring this, to approve this application? Were the wastewater department staff included?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I would suggest that all the relevant staff have been involved. Certainly, Mr. Ty's been involved, I've been involved, Preston has been involved, Keith has been involved, Mike's been involved, the technical staff and the management, senior management staff have been involved in the report.
Thank you.
Any other questions from members of council? Councilor Bateman?
I'm not sure if this is the appropriate time. I've been reading over, and the only thing that confuses me about this, and the section, it's not really confusing, I just want clarification. Number 2, I'm in favor of rescinding the 2017-235 resolution, because I read through that, and then I referred it, and I read through the report that's attached to it at the time, and the resolution said the staff, support staff decision to require a conventional sewer system. And when I read over the report, I read it 4 times. Nowhere in the report did it say that staff recommended a conventional. That's not the way it reads, so I'd be in favor of definitely, because this doesn't match the staff report that was issued in 2017.
Any other discussion? Councilor Rowley?
I do have maybe 2 more questions. One question reading this, that the development will have 45 units. However, I believe the email that we got from the developer over the weekend said 47. Can we get clarification on that, maybe?
Mr. Ty?
believe the approved draft plan shows 45. I could stand corrected, I believe it was 45.
But we would receive, assuming this all moves forward, we would receive a subdivision agreement that would show us those numbers.
Oh, precisely, you would receive, as part of the consideration for the subdivision agreement final approval, you have the draft end plan, which would show exactly how many lots.
Thank you. You had another question?
I do have another question regarding OMB costs, or I guess it's LPAT now, right? It's not OMB. Is
I
that
believe it
something
was
that-
the OMB then, though.
It was OMB
I'm
then?
not sure.
Okay,
It's a
what, regardless.
it's a bouncing ball.
Right, is that something we will get a balance from, through our financial director at some point as to what the costs were incurred by the municipality?
Mr. Councilman?
For you, happy to put that together.
Anything further?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
One more. One more. Will there be assurances, monies in place that will satisfy the municipality once the municipality assumes this subdivision at some point? Can you explain how that works, please?
Mr. Ty?
There will be a letter of credit attached to the subdivision agreement. A portion of the letter of credit will be, I refer my report to, dedicated toward the question or the issue of, should there be an issue with the low pressure sewer system, yes.
Thank you.
Councilor LeBlanc?
Do we make sure, through you, Chair, sorry, do we make sure that all subdivisions have sufficient funds?
Through the chair, yes, we do.
Any further? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. Our third staff report is with regard to the Lower Trent Conservation Authority source water protection. Mr. Ty, we read your, is it Mr. Ty? Is that yours again? Mr. Ty, we've read your report. Do you have anything to add or highlight? Thank you. I have a motion moved by Councilor Tadman, second by Councilor LeBlanc. The council receives the report regarding the Lower Trent Region Conservation Authority source water protection as prepared by the municipal planning consultant. And that council proceed to enact a bylaw authorizing the mayor and clerk to execute a renewal agreement for the Lower Trent Region Conservation Authority pertaining to source water protection services. Is there any discussion? Councilor Rowley.
Thank you. Will this have any effect with some of the new legislation that we hear is coming in as far as what responsibilities conservation authorities will either keep or lose in the coming future? Will this be affected at all?
I believe in Mr. Ty's report, it's understood that this will be in fact one of the Conservation Authority mandates that will be kept.
Just to make sure. Thank you.
And I stand to be corrected, Mr. Ty, if that's not true.
That's correct.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor.
What's the time frame on this? For some of these changes going forward? Is this an immediate thing, or is that something that we're looking at down the road?
Through the chair, the current agreement expires at the end of December,
Okay.
so hence the reason to bring it to council this evening.
Anything further? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. No unfinished business this evening, so we'll move into bylaws. Our first bylaw is moved by Councilor Tadman, seconded by Councilor LeBlanc. The council gives this bylaw its first, second, and third reading and finally passes on this date. Being a bylaw to amend bylaw 140/2002, as amended, otherwise known as the comprehensive zoning bylaw of the municipality of Brighton. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. Our second bylaw is moved by Councilor LeBlanc, seconded by Councilor Tadman. The council gives this bylaw its first, second, and third reading and finally passes on this date. Being a bylaw to amend bylaw 140/2002 as amended, otherwise known as the comprehensive zoning bylaw of the municipality of Brighton. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. And I have a next bylaw moved by Deputy Mayor Vink, seconded by Councilor Anderson. The council gives a bylaw its first, second, and third reading and finally passes on this date. Being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and the clerk to execute an agreement for certain matters under the Clean Water Act between the municipality of Brighton and the Lower Trent Region Conservation Authority. Appoint the Conservation Authority as agent of the municipality with respect to the enforcement and jurisdictional rights under the Act to assist with the implementation of the Trent Source Water Protection Plan. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. And I'll open the floor to question period. If any members of the gallery have questions with regard to an item on our agenda this evening. That's noted. And we will take a 10-minute recess before proceeding in camera. Moved by Councilor Rowley, seconded by Councilor Tadman. The council proceed into closed session at 7:13 p.m. to discuss a personal matter about an identifiable individual subject to the Municipal Act Section 259(2)B. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried.